Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Only Leeds Bros. Hope everybody is keeping and doing well. Welcome back to Leeds Latest. We have plenty to get into today, and I'm proud to say we're joined by the one and only Jer Lynch from The View. Jer, how are you?
Good man. Yeah, busy evening. Yeah,
Good,
plenty to
very,
talk
very
about.
busy. Thought we weren't signing until the 1st of July,
Oh,
Jer.
look,
That's what we were being told.
and they're still not happy, Joe. Darren, they're still not happy.
We're never happy as Leeds fans. We're a very, very hard fan base there to try and please, and it's like poke someone. Come on, sign someone Leeds, and then we sign
Where's
someone.
the
No,
next
not
one?
him.
Where's the next
Not
one?
him.
Where's the
Not
next
him.
one?
Yeah. It's going to be a daily thing now, Jer. Is there another one lined up again tomorrow?
I'll be careful, Darren. If I do any more videos, I keep getting given out if we're doing videos.
Don't you be doing videos now, Jer? Do you hear me? No more videos.
Video channel. Don't do videos.
Before we do get into the video, I do want to just plug the Creator Cup as well, guys. It takes place on the 20th of July in the John Charles Community for Sports Stadium. All your favourite Leeds United content creators will be there. We take to the field in aid of Prostate Cancer UK. Tickets are only £7 for adults and £3 for kids. It's going to be a great day out and an even better day because it's going to be Jer's swan song, Jer, isn't it? The last time you're throwing on the football boots.
Last game before the hip replacement, so I'll be either leaving the boots in the middle of the pitch like the Undertaker at WrestleMania, or I'll be hanging them on a peg in the dressing room, one or the other. But yeah, that'll be the final game because of getting fit for this. Has my hip in a really bad way, but we're gonna get there, get on the pitch. It might last 5 minutes, but then that's it, done.
Love it. Absolutely love to see it. Dillo, how are you, buddy?
I'm all good, all good. Great to be here with as you say, the voice of reason, Jer. So I love it.
That went away for a
good,
while, Jerry, and then it came back, didn't it? It's back again.
Losing the head.
Now that
We're
the
bringing it
transfer
back.
window's open.
We're
Now the
bringing it
transfer
back,
window's
Jerry.
open.
We're bringing it back. Yeah, no, all good. Yeah, Twitter, X, flat out all day. Then confirming now that Leeds are signing another player. So similar to what you were saying, sitting around all day, feet up, and then all of a sudden, then it's bam, Leeds United made signings, lads, and early as well, by the way.
Early, yeah.
Two, yeah, exactly. So we're spoiled rotten, and I'm loving it.
Danny Talks Lee, it says smash a like and subscribe, please do so, lads, would be greatly appreciated. Scott Newman says evening, lads, hopefully a couple of decent additions with plenty more to follow. Started off well anyway. Started you mean to go on is what they say. Michael is here. Hi all, nice to see Leeds getting a few physical signings in the door. And with that, Jerry, we'll pass it over to you because this is something I think Leeds United have lacked over the last couple of seasons, especially in both boxes, attacking and defending corners. These two that we've got in seem to have the aerial duels are all on their side. Is this, you think, is a different route Daniel Farke is going down this season?
I think they said towards the end of the season, I think Baron Cross had a piece, or Graham Smith had a piece, where they said the Leeds transfer strategy was to look at more physical players for this season. I think you're starting to see a change in football as well. I listened to some football and podcasts during the summer, well, middle of the summer now, but they were kind of saying that there's a shift kind of back towards the old way as well. Like people are coming away from the Pep model and the total football model and going back towards being far more physical and far more dynamic on the pitch as well. Leeds lacked height. Leeds lacked physicality. For years, we've always looked risky from set pieces and dead balls. You've now added 2 6-footers to this, 2 6-foot+ players to this as well, and that brings the average up. I know Nmecha has his injury history behind him. He hasn't been injured since March, but he's his injury history behind him. But it's worth pointing out, though, that if you look at Leeds' bench last year, that desperately needed looking at as well, because Daniel Farke at times this year will turn around to make a change, and if he doesn't have a Premier League level player on the bench, what's the point on having them there? He's not going to use them. When we've seen the first year in the Championship, when Farke doesn't believe in his bench, he won't use it. So you get stuck with that 11 players. Then they play too many minutes. Then they get injured. And then you don't have the depth there as well. So, look, Nmecha for me, it's an easy gamble because he's cost us nothing. He's on relatively low money comparative to the rest. Someone said yesterday, similar to kind of a Sam Byron player coming in, like different position, but yeah, experienced for good age. And if he does have his injuries behind him, he's got years ahead of him as well, and you could be getting a decent player at a decent time. But we'll talk a bit more detail. But I think you're definitely seeing more physicality being added. And I think you'll start to see that down the spine of the team as well.
We've kind of seen that in the Premier League, Jer, hasn't we, over the last couple of seasons, like what you said. We've seen that model of what Pep always played, with ball on the floor, possession-based kind of football. It kind of seems to be, as you say, shifting a little bit, that we're kind of going back to the more, not 4-4-2 as of yet, but it does seem to be shifting that way a little bit, doesn't it? That the long balls are starting to come back into the game, the physical players are coming back into the game. It's about how football kind of does that rotation, isn't it? And Leeds look like they're going to go that route.
Well, football's cyclical. Like you go back to the Pep Guardiola model, and that's really the Johan Cruyff model of total football, and then Bielsa has a version of that, and then Pep had a version of that. But it's all the same type of possession-based football. But you've got to play to your strengths, and you've got to look at your strengths. And I think there's a situation here where I think Simon Jordan said this again a couple of months ago, or it might have been said by somebody else, but it was basically saying that if you don't have the players to play out from the back, don't play out from the back. If you've got a big physical side, go long, go direct. I mean, Coventry in the Championship played football in their first year, tried to play it in the second year. This year in the Championship didn't really work. Frank Lampard comes in, they go more direct. So you've that as well. So yeah, I think there's a small shift starting to happen, but you've got to just play to your strengths and whatever those strengths might be. So if it's more physical, more direct, then play physical, more direct. Don't play a style of football that doesn't suit the players that you have. Some of your parts are really important on this.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's take a little bit of a Nmecha. I did put this together today. I said this isn't groundbreaking stuff. It's just a very basic information of who exactly is it, because we see a lot of people on Twitter and across social media asking, who's this? Where is he coming from? So he's 26-year-old. He's 6'1", like what Jer said. So he brings physicality to the game. Right-footed, predominantly a centre forward, but can play on the wide positions, but predominantly a centre forward. Came through the Man City Youth Academy as well. So he does tie into the homegrown talent as well. He counts for that, so he ticks that box as well. Previous clubs, Man City, Middlesbrough on loan, Preston loan, Anderlecht and Wolfsburg. And what Jer's pointed out as well, I've seen on his news video this morning, is that he does have 7 caps as well for Germany. So nothing to be sneezed at, Jer. If you're being capped by the German national team, they're usually very particular. We've seen with Robin Koch at Leeds, they were reluctant to call him up when Leeds weren't doing well. They're very particular, aren't they, the Germans, who they call up to their side?
It goes to show that not every player should be judged by one club that they play at, because Robin Koch was slated as a Leeds player. We all saw his final season at Leeds was really poor. He played the Eintracht Frankfurt side to finish third in the Bundesliga this year ahead of Borussia Dortmund, got called up to the German national side again. And there's talk about him potentially leaving Frankfurt for double the money that they paid for him from Leeds. He's been one of their standout players this year. So it's not always an indictment of a player's ability, how he's played at one club, So yeah, it comes with the territory, I suppose. Different players suit different managers, suit different styles. Leeds had Jesse Marsh in charge at the time when he was here, so nobody looked good. Nobody looked good.
Could have put me on him. I would have looked good.
You might have did a bit of chaos, man. Run around.
Well, we've seen the crossbar challenge till you won the crossbar challenge. That's your selling point now, isn't it?
I celebrate.
But it does have to be said about just this one, Jer, is that when it first came out, again on social media, we're all too click happy saying, is this our ambition really? Is this what we're going for? But it was rightly pointed out there from Graham Smith and the YEP that Leeds United do have other targets in place, and this is more of a squad player rather than just this is our number 9 and this is who we're going with now. Dilla, what have you made about this one? Because I actually haven't talked to you since Nmecha. I know you've been looking at me a bit over the last couple of days. You happy with this signing, as what myself and Jerry said, squad player?
When I watched the video that Leeds put out, at the end of the day, you kind of just get hyped up when Leeds do sign a player, regardless who they are or where they're from, because shiny new toy. And then I actually did watch Jerry's video, so I was kind of pleased to hear what Jerry said, stating that this isn't going to be the normal number 9. Now, I started to watch a few videos, and some positive, some negative. As any player would be. You're not going to get the next Messi. I was going to say Ronaldo there, but I forgot this is a Leeds channel. You don't want to be messing around with that sort of territory. But look, I said this in previous videos. It's not necessarily that I want Leeds to just buy players. I want them to do the right amount of business and at the right amount of time, considering for pre-season. I just don't want everything to be messy. So I think the 49ers have done a good job. Time will tell. And we just go from there. But at the end of the day, it's players in, lads, and that's the way that I look at it. It's a step forward. The 49ers are spending money. I know we got them on a free, but they're spending money in the sense of freeing up positions to get these lads in. For example, Farke when he leaves, hopefully Bamford, etc. So we move on in that way. But we never know. Only time will tell.
And it's low risk as well, Jerry, this one, because as we said now, it's free. Obviously, the expiry of his contract at Wolfsburg, a 2-year contract, and it feels like one of them where it's a bit of a free hit, isn't it, on this one? That is not going to cost us anything. And there is a player in there, isn't it? We'll get into the pros and cons of it. We've done another little slide in the pros and cons of it. But this one, it does feel like a bit of a free hit, isn't it, for Leeds?
Yeah, and everyone have their hot takes on this. We see a couple of them in the chat. People nailing their colours to the mast very early on, saying he'll play or he won't play, which is I always find is dangerous because that tends to become agenda territory where you have to prove over the course of the year that your statement is correct that you put on the wall. No one's asked people to do that. So if you're sticking your colours to a mast and saying he won't play this year, you're going very, very early with it. And I would give the player a chance. And as soon as they put on that white shirt, they get my fullback, and no matter who's wearing that jersey, well, maybe the exception is Jack Harrison, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But if you look at something, look at the bench last year, right? Vober, Ramazani, Bamford, Joseph. Grew out, then you had Schmidt, Gilavogi, Rothwell, Harry Gray. Then Gilavogi's gone, Rothwell's gone, Bamford could go. There's talk of Joseph being sold. So then, and then Gruev could go as well. So then you're left with Vober's going. So you're left with Schmidt, Ramazani, Harry Gray. Now, do you bring Joe Gelhardt, James DeBio, and Sam Greenwood onto that bench? Or do you go out and sign some players that can actually elevate the floor of this squad and give you a bench next season to look at? And I don't think people are considering that. People want 15 Rafinhas bought tomorrow morning. They want them bought for half the price we should be paying for them. You've got to be realistic about this. Leeds need a squad next season that can play a certain level. And he might not play an awful lot of games, but he might also end up being a very good player because there is a lot of positives to what he brings to the game. He's an old school number 9. Thomas Muller commented on him when he was in the German national side and said that he scores old school number 9 type goals. And Thomas Muller gave him praise as well. And again, you're no slouch of Thomas Muller. Yeah. We wouldn't lace Thomas Muller's boots, let alone be able to get a decent opinion on how we are as footballers. But he had a lot of positive things to say from him. Then he had the injuries afterwards. So, but if you look at that bench needs to get better. You're not going to bring Gelhardt back onto that bench. You're not bringing Sam Greenwood back into this team, and you're not bringing James DeBio in just yet anyway. So what are you going to do with the amount of players that are leaving? You've got to go and sign other players. And again, it's an easy enough gamble. Like if it doesn't work out, so what? It didn't cost you much, cost you a couple of months' wages. He's on very low wages from what we can make out, between 35 and 40,000 pounds per week, which is
in the Premier League.
Bamford's getting paid right now, so in the Premier League. So again, it's just I think it's just a safe enough signing in that perspective. I know it might not mean safe as in playing games, but I think it's a safe enough player in terms of you can add him to your squad and we'll see what happens when again. Same Josh Gilavogi came in last Christmas, was told probably won't play an awful lot of games, made a huge impact behind the scenes in the club as well. And when he did play, maybe not in the games he started, but when he did come off the bench in games, he did enough for us and he helped and contributed. And that's all you want from these players, to come in and contribute when they're given the opportunity to play. And yeah, look, again, I just think it's a very inoffensive signing. I don't know why people get worked up about these things, but we talked about before we came on, people going, Leeds have done nothing yet. Window opens, Leeds signed 2 players. The first comments are, they're not good enough. You're like, what do you want, lads? What do you want?
I think when you look at Leeds' bench next season going into the Premier League, you want to feel that kind of confidence. And if them 2 new signings are that kind of confidence and reassurance, then you can go, well, the 49ers have done a good job. And I have to agree with you what you said there, Jerry. At the end of the day, the starting 11 that go out week in, week out, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be bust-ups. There's going to be all this sort of thing. So to be rotated and replaced, that's certainly that we need to do. We can't be relying on, as you said there, Sam Greenwood or Joe Gelhardt. Them boys have to jump ship. So
it's even our Bamford as well, though, lads, isn't it? Where like we've seen with Paddy Bamford is that when he's on it, and he can be for a couple of games, he's grand, he's a decent option, but we know long term he can't, because his body always breaks down, and he knows that himself. And this could be one of them signings where it covers that way. If we do see Bamford go in the morning, well, then you're getting a very decent replacement for him in Nmecha. And
that's who I think he is replacing. I don't think it's a Joseph replacement. I could be wrong, but I do see it as a replacement for Pat Bamford. I think it's a similar enough profile in terms of his big attributes are his hold-up play, his ability to take the ball in half turn, which outside of Aronson, we don't really have a player who can do that. So there's a physical. If you look at the videos of him, not saying that they're a perfect example of what kind of a footballer is or what you got, because they're always the best bits, but he takes hits and he takes big hits, and you can understand where a player get. I mean, I saw one where he got elbowed in the back of the head while being kneed in the stomach, and you're going to pick up injuries if you're that kind of player and you're getting 2 players doubling up with you. But there's also a positive to that. If he does attract more players to him, that frees up space for the wingers to get involved in the game as well. So it's not always about scoring loads of goals.
Different profile.
Times I played for clubs where I was the goal scorer because I had to play in behind, and there was clubs I played for where they didn't want me to do that. They wanted me to come short and link to play and score an awful lot of goals. But you're involved in the build-up. One of the big things that came out of this is the sporting director at Wolfsburg, when he was leaving, made a very positive comment about how he handled himself at the club. And he said that he's always behaved highly professionally, especially during difficult times. And he said, despite his setbacks, he's never lost focus and always puts himself at the service of his team. And that might sound like another version of side before self. And those are the kind of players Leeds need. We don't need the players we had the last time in the Premier League, where it was all about them. They had these clauses in their contract. They knew they had to get out of jail free card, and it was about them. This is not that. This is a player coming in trying to reignite his career and prove himself to people. And Leeds are coming back to the Premier League, trying to prove everybody wrong that we can stay in this division and we can push on. So, yeah, there's just a lot of positives there as well. The injuries is the only negative. And yes, it is a big negative. But it was the same conversation last year about McMahon or Solomon. Not saying it will turn out the same way, but you're going to get one or two of these. There'll probably be more of these. There'll probably be a couple of other kind of mid to late 20 lads come in for nothing on the free transfer market as well. And then that'll flesh out this squad.
Yeah. We'll take a look then at some of his pros and cons. As I said, lads, this isn't groundbreaking stuff. Just a little bit about the player that I took a look into today. So some of his pros is his physicality, finishes, and his technical intelligence. So he's great at the hold of play, using his frame to protect the balls with what Jer touched on there. Strong on his right foot, clinical in the box, links well with the defender so he can drop deep as well and build up that hold of play. He's a good understanding of positional play, which fits Farke's style, impatient build up with purpose. So as I said, not groundbreaking stuff, but just some of the stuff that we've heard about that I had a look into today, Jer. And like what you said, he's a different type of striker, isn't he, where he can come short, he can use his body, he can hold off defenders. We didn't really have that last year in Piroe. Piroe was one of them kind of come and link it, but he wouldn't really be holding anyone off and kind of drag Leeds up the pitch.
Yeah, I think the Piroe was when the unusual thing about Joel Piroe's first touch was when he had his back to the goal, his first touch was like a bus. When he was in the box, it was like cotton. The ball just dropped dead on his toe. You're bringing a player in who, if we're under pressure in games and if we need to get out from the back quickly, you can knock the ball up to Nmecha and he can hold that ball up. And also, he's very good at rolling players as well. So he can use his strength and his height to pull players out of the way and roll them and run into space. And then he's quite pacey as well. What's interesting about the injuries as well, Darren, is they actually tie in with the kind of player that he is. Like he's had a hamstring injury, speed. He's had a knee injury that's just twisting and turning. And he's had the adductor injury, which we're all very familiar with adductors because Dan James has them every second week. Pace. They're pace injury stuff. And a lot of that stuff can come early in your career as well. And you're hoping it gets out of your system by the time you get older and as you start to slow down a little bit. But he's got all those kind of attributes that late in the game, bringing him on for 10 minutes, take the pressure off, bringing him on to maybe bring a ball into the corner flag and hold it up. You can get that from him. So, it's fine. It's a fine signing. I'm not going to say it's not a glamorous signing. It's not a spectacular signing. I'm not saying I'm not doing cartwheels and backflips about the signing, but I think it's a realistic, sensible signing to build the squad.
Yeah. And it's my what you have here, Jer, because this is what I looked at, and obviously his cons are his injuries. Everyone's saying it there in the chat, and it's everything that we know. So he has struggled with his knee injuries, hamstring injuries. I missed out the abductor one. So he missed a large chunk of the recent season. He's only made 42 appearances in the last 3 seasons for Wolfsburg. He's not prolific, but again, that ties in with being injured because you can't be prolific if you're not playing football. His best season was he scored 21 goals for Anderlecht during the 2020-21 season and tends to go quiet in games if he is left isolated as well. So they were the cons that I found on him today, Jer. But really, when you look at him, it's more the injuries part of it, isn't it? Kind of leads on to that not being kind of prolific as what you said. If you're playing games and you're fit, you're scoring goals.
I think the isolated piece is really interesting as well because that ties into the type of player he is. You've got to put the ball into him. And if you're not putting the ball into him, you're not going to see him in the game. So
it's like Piroe.
He's obviously dangerous on the ball.
Yeah,
he's looks obviously dangerous. And again, look what Jer said. I know it's only YouTube, and YouTube's only going to make it look like Messi, but some of it's all around play. It's not just the goals, Jer, isn't it? It's the ones, like you said, coming short, holding the ball up, his tracking back. He looks like he's annoyed to get back and do the work the other way as well. And Leeds are going to need that next season.
Yeah, they are. It's exactly what Leeds are going to need because we're not going to be dominating games. We're not going to have all the ball in the world. We're not going to have possession. So we'll need to play a little bit ugly at times as well. He scored some very nice goals. When he does hit a ball, he can hit a ball. And as a team that don't really have a penalty taker either, he can smack a penalty. He's got a very good record on penalties as well. So he's a confident young fella. I quite liked his interview. I thought it was really interesting. Josh Gilavogi being very involved in this as well, which is always nice to see. He sold the club. But it's interesting to see that he'd had several conversations with Daniel Farke about this as well. Leeds have claimed they've seen off interest from other Premier League clubs, but every club is going to say that anyway, whether it's true or not. But it's still an interesting point.
Yeah. Dillo, you wanted to say before we move on to the next one?
Oh, love it. Just going back to his injury record, knee and hamstrings, and similar to me and you, wasn't it?
together.
If me and you were to have a kid, that would be Nmecha, Dylan, wouldn't it?
Literally, yeah.
I'm
My
hamstrings
knees.
and Dylan's knees. That's all. Jay, you could be in there, abductors and hips and all that as well.
Hips, yeah.
we made him. Yeah. So yeah, put all them graphs together today, and I said we'll do a half an hour long stream about Nmecha, and then obviously the news then dropped today about Bijol from Fab Romano. Jer, as I said, it's not fully done yet, but usually when you get the go ahead for him, it's signed and sealed. It's just a medical waiting now. I know you're a fan of Bijol. How much are you looking forward to seeing him in the Premier League and what he can bring to Leeds next season?
I'm more interested to see what Leeds do with him, how Leeds move on, because he is a central centre back of a three. I don't think Daniel Farke will change the system, just mainly because most managers don't tend to change their systems. And obviously, yesterday in the piece from Nmecha, where he said that Daniel Farke had spoken about playing a similar style to last year. So I don't think the system's going to change then, but it's where he fits in. Does he go in on the right-hand side and offer competition for Joe Rodon? He is right-footed. Or does he go to the left-hand side where he has played as a left centre-back, even though he is right-footed, and puts a bit of competition towards Pascal Struijk? But it's more depth in that area. Again, like we can't keep pulling a midfielder back into centre half, although I love Ethan Ampadu as a centre back more than a midfielder, but you can't keep doing that at that position. Max Ferber's going, so you need bodies in that position. I still think they probably need one more centre back as well.
I agree.
Yeah. I think you get a sneaky free one from the Premier League someone a little bit more older and experienced that can again come in and do a job when you need it to. But yeah, Bijol's got a lot of strong attributes as well. 6'3", big boy, very, very physical, good on the turn. Not the fastest, but he's not slow either. It was said that he was slow. He's not slow. He's a very leggy.
If you're not quick, you're slow, Jerry. That's it, isn't it? There's no in between. You're either fast or you're slow.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a left or right. You're never centre. You can be all of those things. Yeah, he's got quite a leggy run. He's very similar to Joe Rodon's kind of running pace, where you think he's going to get caught, and he doesn't, because the stride is there and he opens the legs up and away he goes. His ability, I think Leeds fans will like his ability in the tackle, very Pontus Jansson-esque. It's a big hit, wins the ball. Interception numbers are very, very good per game. So yeah, I think there's an awful lot of benefits to him. He doesn't tend to mess about with the ball either. If they're under a bit of pressure, he just gets rid of it. So he's a no-nonsense, common sense type of footballer as well. You'll have to get used to moving across from the Bundesliga into the Premier League. It'll be faster than, Serie A. It'd be significantly faster than he's used to facing in Serie A. That'll need to be an adjustment. Serie A is more of a defenders type game than it is an attackers type game. Premier League's the flip opposite of that. So yeah, you're going to need some time to settle in. Same as Jayden Bogle last year. 6-7 games, then make a decision on whether you think he's going to do it or not. But I definitely would give him a couple of games to find his feet. And again, that white jersey weighs an awful lot on players' shoulders, so give him time.
Yeah, he's coming into a massive club as well. Like you said, Jeremy, he's gonna need time to settle into this team, and like that, whether if he's there to give Joe Rodon a bit of competition or it's Pascal Struijk, he's needed either way, isn't he? In there just so he can cover both positions. But I said it's an interesting one, and it's one of them. Like when Tanaka came in, that you look at this and you kind of say, give him time, let's see how he gets on, don't put too much pressure on him, and we'll obviously see him then in pre-season. I'm with you. I think we probably will go 3 at the back of pre-season, and it'd be the same as last year. Everyone will be like, told you we're going 3 at the back. This is Farke's new thing, and it's not going to be that. It's going to be 4. It'd be 4-2-3-1. Farke, he doesn't deviate from that, Dillo, does he? That's his formation. They don't.
No, I'd love for him to change, lads, but he just won't. He's just set in his ways.
I think there'll be a plan B, Dillo. I think we will see a plan B this year. I think you have to work on that. But I think the players they're looking at was possibly more around that defensive facility that they want to have there. I mean, if they're also linked with, checks his notes.
Everyone.
Everyone there might be in this morning for mention. Siddiqui as well, very physical player as well. So they're looking for those more tough players in there that will stop people coming through them, coming at them. And we were a leaky tea bag at the best of times in the final season, the Premier League, the last time around. So getting these kind of players in will definitely help as well. And again, I keep saying it, bolster that squad out and make it a Premier League level squad and add a bit more solidity, a bit more power, and a bit more what's the word I'm looking for here? Physical presence in that side. I think you're seeing that now with both of these. So good signing. It was labelled as Leeds priority. It's not done and dusted until the medical is done. However, Ben Jacobs has now also confirmed what Fabrizio Romano has said, that the clubs have both agreed. It's a done deal from the club's perspective. It's a done deal from the personal terms perspective. He's due to fly into Leeds in the next 24 hours and have his medical, and then it'll be a done deal. But so there is always that little bit, but he doesn't have a massive injury record. So you would imagine the medical is a formality at this stage, but you never know at this time of the year. So you hold off until tomorrow. But paperwork wise, everything's ready to go except the medical.
My tracker's going to be busy tonight.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of a player profile then on Bijol. I said this was thrown together very quick because it was obviously a last minute announcement before we came on. So he's 25 years of age. What Jerry says 6'3", so he's massive, big boy is what Leeds want. Right footed centre back, but can play as defensive midfielder as well. I'm not sure if you knew this one, Jerry, but obviously started off his career as playing a defensive midfielder, which is good to know. So we could use him in there if needed. Started off at NK Bravo in Slovenia. Has played for CSK Moscow, Hanover on loan, and Udinese, and has 60 plus caps as well for Udinese, and has played at 2024 as well as a starter for the Slovenia international team. So again, Jer, everything on paper looks good and exactly what Leeds United need.
And he's captain Wolfsburg as well, so he brings in leadership experience as well. So good around the dressing room as well, and you're going to want that. So yeah, all very, very good. Again, it's all on paper. We have to the proof of the pudding. These players will all be in the eating, and we'll have to wait a couple of weeks to see what that looks like. But it's nice to see Leeds making some moves early. For me, the idea of bringing it, having matches against Villarreal, Manchester United, and AC Milan is to get your squad used to playing against higher caliber opposition. There's no point in organising those games unless you're going to have the players you want to have in the team ready for those games. Yep. So the fact that they've made 2 already is promising. It'll probably go quiet now for a little bit. We'll have, all of the usual aggregate sites giving us 5 million players per day that Leeds are interested in. Sasha Tavaleri has Siddiqui as one today, but Sasha Tavaleri also said Josh Sargent and Beto in the last couple of weeks. So keep swinging. You'll hit something eventually.
Hasn't been done. And this is the pros then that have done a bit of digging into Bijol today. So defensive versatility, physical presence. We spoke about that already. Originally played as a midfielder when he started out his career, but is now a natural centre back. Knows how to break up the play, intercept, and track runner. So very much Joe Rodon-esque. Dominant in the aerial duels, a real weapon from defending and attacking corners, which we know Leeds United are going to need next season. And uses his size well, being overly aggressive and a disciplined defender as well. Looked at his discipline record as well, Jared. It's actually good as well. The stats I didn't actually write them down, but I remember looking at is for that type of player, the way he plays, very much kind of like Joe Rodon, first to the ball, nip in ahead, not overly aggressive, but likes to kind of get there first. His discipline record is good as well. It's always a good thing, isn't it?
Absolutely, especially when you're a physical player and not picking up cards. That's a positive. That means you're winning more tackles than you're losing. It means you're not overly committing. One of the criticisms, I'm a big Pascal Stroke fan. I think he's going to be a smashing centre back as he gets older. But one of the criticisms is he can get drawn into the ball a bit too quickly at times and get rolled. So a couple of times last year and the year before, we get dragged out of position, and then the player just nicks the ball around the corner and Pascal's dead. You don't kind of see that with these kind of players. So the fact that they do that now, I don't think you'll see Bijol tearing up the park like Joe Rodon does from time to time, but I think you'll see him as your stopper, where they let Stroke or Rodon, whoever's in there with him, do the footballing. But yeah, it's positive. The stats are good, but they're only stats. The eye test is what we'll have to have a look. But it's if you look at his heat map, like he covers an awful lot of his defensive half, and more often than not, like he can cover ground, and that's important. But yeah, it's another, as I say, 6'3". We got 6'1" in Nmecha. And that's 2 players that are going to go into penalty areas next season that we just didn't have this year. So you're adding another level of height. And I think he's 2 centimeters taller than Pascal Stroke. So that'll give you an idea of how tall he is, because Stroke's a big boy as well and looks it.
His duels are impressive as well, Jared. His winning duels are very, very impressive. Looking at them as well today. And like that, I think the last time in the Premier League, when what I remember about Leeds United is that every time a corner was against us, it just felt like a team was going to score. We always looked vulnerable. We always looked all over the place. And even though Jesse would tell us, "Oh, we're working on it," there was never really any improvement. And sometimes you can work on it as much as you want, but when you haven't really got the height in there, there's not much you can do about it when you're coming up against them physical sides. Remember West Ham? I think they were that time when we got relegated in the Premier League. I think there was the most goals from set pieces they scored with Souček, and that comes to mind. Brilliant team. So it's needed next year. And set pieces, they're the 1%ers in the Premier League, aren't they?
They're massively important, because if you're not getting lots of chances in the game, if you're not dominating football and you're not getting chances, set pieces give you an opportunity to get the ball in under the crossbar of your opposition. So you can't waste them. And we've wasted 2 seasons with no set piece takers. We've no one that can take a free kick that's accurate enough. We've had the odd person score the odd goal. Outside of Joe Rothwell's corners, it's already been said in the chat, and CB has said it, and Arthur, and I believe Danny has said it as well, and they're all bang on the money. We've had nobody who can beat the first man from a corner, and that's massively important. So you're bringing these players in. When we get to that 10, that central midfield position, you're hoping that one of the players you bring into those roles can take a free kick or take a set piece as well. But they've got to work more on that. We don't have a set piece coach. I know we had one way back when, and it didn't work out particularly well. But if you look at most of the teams now, they'll have a dedicated set piece taker. Bournemouth have a very infamous one. Arsenal have a set piece coach who's notorious, comes out onto the technical area when set pieces happen and conducts the set piece. They're kind of roles you need to look at as well, because they're opportunities to put the ball in the back of the net or put pressure on people. And if you're just throwing them away as in, what's the point? We don't have anybody out there. Then I go back to Bielsa's comments around, if you can't get the ball in the box, why take the corner? Just go short and play it back out. You know, don't put anyone in the box.
Pep done that, I remember, at Barcelona, and he was probably one of the first managers that I remember, because they were a very small side, that Barcelona side, and he never whipped the corner in the box. It was always shot corners, always keep the ball, because they played to their strengths, isn't it? And people turn around and say, put the ball in the box, but if you haven't got the height, it's a bit stupidity, isn't it? It's keep the ball and play to your strengths.
More often than not, you're just giving possession away.
Yeah.
Kick it to the box, it doesn't meet the front man, goal kick. They have the ball now. Kick it past the first man, goalkeeper catches it. They've got possession there on the counter-attack now. And we've been done on counter-attacks. So having that player in that can get there. And if it's not your strength, I don't understand why most people don't do it. Maybe because they get the piss taken out of them if they do it. But if you're not good on corners, don't put anybody in the box. Just play it short and go back out and keep possession of the ball and go back into a normal attacking phase. But it's part of the game and people will do it. But if you're going to do it, and it gives you that 1% chance that you have, and it could be a 94-minute header, it's good to have players in there that can put their head on the ball, and it's good to have players in your squad that can take a decent set piece. So they are important. They will be very important next year because of the lack of opportunities that we'll likely have.
Dilla, what about you? The Bijol one. Again, you were looking into him a couple of weeks ago when we spoke back. It feels like ages ago we're talking about Bijol, doesn't it? It feels like it's rumbling on weeks. How excited are you there? Well, he's not fully signed yet. We obviously have to wait for the medical, but how are you excited to see this one over the line?
Well, I tell you, if I was playing up against him, lads, I wouldn't like it. Him and Joe Rodon at the back, like, that's scary. Like,
you're getting that at the Crater Cup against Jerry, you know that.
Yeah, well, I'm not playing though, thank God. No, lads, it's great. Look, at the end of the day, for me anyway, because look, I don't know a whole lot. You can watch videos, as you said, on YouTube, makes them look like Messi. We don't know until we get there. But at the end of the day, from what I've seen and what I've been told and what's been written down, because in my opinion, power of the written word, if it's down on paper, more likely it's going to be true. And he just seems like a good addition to the team, if I'm being honest with you. I'll be a bit more excited about Bijol, if I'm being honest. Just being a bit more, you could say, I can sleep better and I know that there's another centre back in this team. But it's great, isn't it? I just want the season to start now. We'll get a few more players in first and then the season to start, but at the end of the day, I'm happy, and that's the main thing.
Just you, as long as you're happy.
Yeah, that's it. That's all that matters.
Let's take a look at it. Go ahead, Jerry.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
That was always a saying, wasn't it? Always a saying.
I can tell you from practice, the bigger they are, the harder they hit.
Especially in Leinster Senior League, that saying is false. The bigger they are, the more they'll absolutely mash you. So I don't believe that. Let's take a look into some of his cons then. As I said, this is it's not very, very deep. I said you had to dig very deep to find any cons on him whatsoever. So not the quickest defender. So we didn't say he was slow. We just said not the quickest. May struggle against faster strikers that if we do play a high line. We'll need to be smart in positioning and cover both fullbacks. He is comfortable on the ball, but as what Jared already touched on, he wouldn't be that line breaking passer the way we've seen Strike and Rodon do at times. He's more one of them where you kind of break the ball up, recycle it, and give it to the creators and kind of let them go and do it. So a different type of centre half. Physically he's there, but a different type of centre half is what you said, Jared, to what we have in Strike and Rodon. Breaks it up and gives it and lets them go play.
Yeah, and I think you see something similar with Ilya Groove in the middle of the park in that defensive role. Yeah. His job was to go in there, win the ball, pass it. Job done. Calvin did it for us the first year in the Premier League. It was win the ball back, pass it 5 yards, job done. You know, that's all you're there to do. We all be the same as well. Win the ball back, give it a short, give it to the fullbacks, give it to your central midfielders. You'll likely have Ethan Ampadu half a yard away from you anyway going, give me the ball. So you just give it to him anyway. So yeah, it's different profiles. You need different types of players, different types of options in there as well for different types of games. So when you're playing against the more physical sides and you need to go more direct, you've got a Bijol. If you want to play more football and against the weaker sides in the league, you can use Stroke for that or Rodon for that as well. So it's nice to have options. Yeah. Elbows the key.
Just one of them 50-50 balls, yeah, that's coming in the Crater Cup. I'm going to be looking and just hope I'm not on the tail end of one of them, because this could be your last ever slide tackle. I know that you'll be thinking, this could be my last slide tackle. I have to make this
everything
ball.
My last, I'm going to make ball count.
Your last one, yeah. This is my last tackle, my last header, my last shot, everything, yeah.
Talking about these big boys, I'm 6'4". You know what I mean?
Yeah, get you in there.
I'm all right with this.
I don't even know who's going to mark you from our set pieces in the Creator Cup now. I think we have a small team. We've no one really tall on our team, do we? I don't think. Of Priestley, who's in nets, but he's the same size as me. I don't know. Is Max tall, Jer? I've never met Max before.
Max is tall enough, yeah.
Tall enough.
Joe Black, your team, is he?
No, he's your keeper. He's
tall as well, yeah. He's Joe's big tall.
Winding him up saying I'm going to score a free kick on him. I've held him to that now that he's got the Simicast one wrong now. I have to score a free kick on him now.
Yeah.
Left foot, boom.
Daniel O'Connor says, not a Leeds fan, but from a technical point of view, do you think you'll be able to keep goals out, get enough clean sheets next season? Is Bijol the first piece of that puzzle? Cheers. You'd hope to think so, Jerry, wouldn't you? Really good question. Thanks for popping in, Daniel. Really good question. You'd hope so, Jerry, wouldn't you, that we can do enough? That's always the hope as a fan, isn't it? No matter what club, you'll always put the blinkers on thinking we can do enough, but it just depends on how the window goes, isn't it? It's solely down to what we do in this window.
Yeah, I mean, when Burnley went up the last time, I thought that they spent really, really well. I thought they brought in some really good players, and then they went down with a whimper. So, you just don't know, because although you're strengthening, everybody else will be strengthening as well. So the level goes up. You're trying to catch up, and they're already ahead of you. So as you're catching, they're already moving away from you. So
Danny on my shoulders. We'll only be at your shoulder, Jer.
Jump. So it's possibly to Daniel's question. It's possibly the first piece of the puzzle, which is important. They've talked about that spine. They've talked about 5 starting players. They want the bulk of the money to be spent on 5 starting players. I know yesterday in my video I went goalkeeper, centre back, centre mid, 10, 9. That's 5. I forgot about the left back. But some of them could be a free transfer as well. And if it's a case that Leeds are looking at Ronaldo, which I don't believe that they are, but if they are, that's a free transfer, left back. That kind of boxes off that. So you spend the bulk of the money as well. Leeds were earmarking roughly about £30 million per position. They said that came out locally. And this is coming under that mark as well, which frees up some money to go elsewhere. And if you can knock a few quid off the other ones, then maybe you can spend the more money on the more creative players that you'll need to make impacts. But it's important. This jigsaw needs players that can stop balls going in the back of the net, and it needs players that can put the ball in the back of the net with limited chances. So that's the puzzle. Whether they can make that work or not is not it's not an easy task. It's a tough gig. Yeah. And it's not going to be, even with these players coming in, my goal is 17th place this year. Finish 17th, and that's a positive. That's you're in the Premier League again for another year, and then you can build and move on. But yeah, this is just about putting a team together that can survive in this division for this year.
So what Danny says here, there is a couple of shrewd ones out there as well, Jared. You think that we could possibly look at Moreno, mightn't happen, but you look at one or two and you think, yeah, we might do it. Dave has a good one here as well. Do you think this signing puts Callum Wilson to bed? I think so. I can't see them again going for.
I don't think Callum Wilson with this.
Another injury risk player and another free. I can't really see them going that route, Jared, and in the same position as well. So
significantly younger than them as well, with the time ahead of them to get better. I don't ever believe there was any credibility to Callum Wilson being linked to Leeds United. It didn't make sense to me. It doesn't fit the 49ers profile of players they buy below 26 and under. 2 players they brought in already, 26 years of age. So they have a history here, and I just don't see those older players coming in until probably very near the end of this to flesh out a few bits and pieces. But I don't think Callum Wilson was ever on their list. I think they wanted somebody slightly more dynamic. What you've got with Nmecha is a striker who can play left and right wing as well, can play in a 10, can drop in and add more. He's a more versatile player than say Callum Wilson is. And Leeds have said he's not the main striker. They will be planning on buying a number 9 this summer, which means that you're likely looking at maybe at that point Piroe Joseph leaving permanently or going out on loan. Wait to see what happens there. But I think you're starting to see replacements happening here. So Bijol, that's Vober's replacement. Nmecha, that's Paddy Bamford's replacement. Midfield, then if it's Siddiqui maybe, then that's an Ilya Gruev possibly replacement in there as well. You'll still need to add a Joe Rothwell replacement in there somewhere as well. Although funny enough, I think Gruev will be decent in the Premier League, but I could be way off the mark on that one. But yeah, it's about upgrading each position to put us in the position to have the best crack at this.
Jason's giving us a few tips here now to deal with you. I'll wait till you jump there, Jared. I'll give you a little bit of a nudge.
On the ribs, isn't it, Jason? Isn't it?
I won't touch the hip. I won't be that bad. I won't go near the hip. It is for charity at the end of the day. Recruitment is tough. I also fear for you boys with Farke in charge. Sorry, but that could be ignorance on my part. You guys will know more than me, and I think it's probably a fair point, Jer, isn't it? Is that like we're not really kind of sitting here being ignorant and saying Farke's going to do the job. Obviously, the question mark is over him. We all want to see him doing well because if Farke does well, at the end of the day, Leeds United do well. So, but the question mark is going to be over Farke, and them first 5, 6, 7 games, they're going to be looking at Farke, and he needs results, doesn't he, in that first couple of games?
I don't think they'll hang around if it doesn't happen. I think if we look poor and if we look like we're getting beaten easily by teams, I think you'll see a change happen pretty quickly. One of the points that I do believe Daniel Farke deserves a crack at the Premier League after what he's achieved. He smashed every record the club has last season, 100-point season. He deserves a crack at it. 100% deserves a crack at it. How long that crack is remains to be seen, but deserve to go at it. But I think there is some credence to the comments that people have made about Leeds have found it tough maybe to get their first targets already this year. Graham Smith said that they've had players who out straight have said no, out up. If you had a Mourinho, not saying it was him, but if you had that level of a manager, would that make it easier to get your primary targets in? Probably. You've got a manager that's got a high win percentage, is a proven winner. Definitely Bennett improves players. Farke is still a relative unknown in the Premier League. He's never really been backed. I think he's already got 2 better players in than he got in his entire time in Norwich already. So, yeah. I look forward to that, Danny. I will look forward.
I can only imagine some of the comments and
I hope
things
he's
that's going to be through this creator cup. I hope it's on mute. I hope you can't hear at all what's going to be said at this football pitch over here. Guys, what is Leeds United's ceiling when it comes to weekly wage and structure? I personally wouldn't have a clue, Jerry. Would you?
I believe our highest paid player currently is between 70 and 75,000. Leeds' record weekly wage was 80,000 that they offered a player. So it's not above 80,000 per week. Now, it might be above 80,000 per month, I think. Yeah, there was 170,000 thrown out by somebody about Firpo, and that was probably his Premier League wage before the discount last 2 years. But also that's probably over the course of a month and not over a week. So I think in and around 70, 75,000 per week is where Leeds are right now. But because of PSR, they need to keep that as low as they can. Leeds need to be smart with pennies here as well. Every penny they save on one transfer gives them more money to spend on a better player somewhere else in the park. So they can't just waste money foolishly here. They've got to be careful, which is why the negotiations probably took as long as they did to get this deal done, because even if Leeds save £1 million here, that £1 million could make a big difference somewhere else later on the window.
And this one here, Jerry, we read everywhere about Jack Harrison that when and if he does come back to Leeds, that he'd be 90 grand a week. That's true.
I think he was he was the 75 grand per week, but there was a 60% discount on that, which is why he moved. I don't know. I need to double check it, but you probably check it on. Actually, I'll check it on Transfer Market.
That's what I thought. I wasn't Transfer Market. I checked on. It was something else I checked on. I think it was 90 grand a week. So he accumulated to close to 5 million a year for Jack Harrison to come back, which
interesting.
I think it could have been euros. But Dylan, anyway, we'll give the same question to you about Farke that was asked here as well by Daniel. That obviously the recruitment is tough. It's going to be tough on Leeds United. We know we have to get the recruitment spot on and then probably a little bit of luck with it surviving this Premier League. How confident are you with Daniel Farke, and how confident in the 49ers to give Daniel Farke the tools to let Leeds United do what we need to do?
It sounds a bit harsh, but I think he'd be on a tight leash, but not in the sense of just pure and utter bad performances. I genuinely think it'll come down to his stubbornness at times. It's a lot of money here we're going to be throwing out. We won a lot of money, and we're obviously going to have to invest that. Agree with Jared, 17th, I take it. I'd snap the hand off you now for it. 110%.
Yeah.
But we all know Farke's track record of the start of a season. He seems to struggle at times,
First 10 games.
They just, you can see the teams, they just look a lot more sluggish, considering in pre-season they'd be smashing teams, or, they just look unbelievable. But I think that's something that maybe Farke needs to stop as well. It's how do I say it like this? He's had a crack at it in Norwich and it didn't go well, considering that the club didn't back him as well. So, purely not his fault. But the 49ers are backing him. So, at the end of the day, he needs to elevate that and also stop being stubborn, especially with the first 10 games.
So Michael says here as well, Dylan, Ipswich Town, I believe, were paying Calvin Phillips 150 grand weekly wage during his loan spell, unless it was partly funded by Manchester City. I'd imagine that was partly funded by Man City, but it'll be interesting to see what way Phillips' career go. I can't see Leeds taking that gamble on it, but it's an interesting one to see wherever he ends up, Jared, because I do like Calvin Phillips. At the end of the day, he is a Leeds lad. I just don't think he's the right fit for Leeds at the minute. So it'd be interesting to see what way his career goes. It could be foreign. I don't know what it is. I have a feeling he might head out
He needs
Europe.
something new. He
Yeah,
needs
a fresh
eyeballs
start
off and go and play football and
away
maybe
from the
take a
UK.
step down a level. Yeah.
Even like
Well,
what McTominay did at I know for scum for them. Like he's gone to Napoli and he's won a Serie A. Like that would be great for Calvin Phillips to head that way.
The thing with Phillips is, and this is nothing against Calvin, I loved Calvin. And when Calvin was playing in that single pivot in Bielsa's system, in the bespoke quarterback role, and Darren, you, me, and Dillo were at the talk with Stuart Dallas and Ian Hart, and Stuart Dallas said it. He put Calvin on the team sheet, and he built that team around Calvin.
Yeah.
All of that was to facilitate the strengths that Calvin Phillips would bring to a game. And then you saw that when it wasn't working, Calvin's off straight away. Get him out. 25 minutes in, it's not working. Boom, out you come. Because it was so dependent on him in that role. But if you were to park that, because that's never going to happen again. Farke doesn't play with a single pivot. He plays with a double pivot. And outside of Gareth Southgate, he has struggled in a double pivot in the clubs he's gone to. If you were to remove the name Calvin Phillips, and if you were to say there's a central defensive midfielder who had a big money move to Manchester City after a good season in the Championship and then a Premier League promotion in a year in the Premier League, he didn't play for Man City. They loaned him out to 2 other clubs. And in the 3 clubs he played for during that period of time, he barely played any football, didn't make a mark, and was seen to be a poor player in most of those teams. Would you want to sign that player?
It's sentiment, Jer, isn't it? It's Leeds. It's just sentiment. It's
the name. And we all love him, and I'd love him back at Leeds, but I want the Calvin back at Leeds. Sorry, Danny's saying Celtic. That's a great show. That's a great show. Still a big club.
Farsley Celtic.
Farsley Celtic. Celtic. That's not bad.
Farsley Celtic be a great move for, but I don't know if they'll afford his wages, though, Jer.
His wages are going to be a massive problem. I think Calvin's realistic enough, and he's a good enough lad to say it's not about the money.
I think so.
I think Calvin would take a less money to play football week in, week out and get his form back. And he's a good kid. And I'd like to see him do well, but I do think there's a lot of sentiment and there's a lot of historical ability assigned to him. Look at his Ipswich time. I think he played 13 games last year for Ipswich. Like that was their big signing for central midfield to help them stay in the division. 13 games. He had a handful for Manchester City. I remember his debut for West Ham. His debut for West Ham, he turns on the edge of his box, gets dispossessed, gives away a penalty, does it in the second half and gives away a goal. So Calvin needs a reset. Somewhere where there's no eyes in him. Bringing him back to Leeds just puts huge pressure on his shoulders.
I think even in the UK, Jerry, because if he flops again, and Dylan, we get your thoughts as well, I think if he goes anywhere in the UK, whether it's any of the Premier League clubs, and it doesn't work again, essentially that's his career done, Jerry, isn't it? It's very hard to come back from that. So that's why he'll have to be looking at that himself, going, what's best for me? I know he's a kid and all that now, and you're probably uprooting him, but you'll probably have to look what's best for your career. If we go, like what you say, Serie A, out to Germany, somewhere where there's no always me, where you can just play football, no pressure of the media, no pressure of the name Calvin Phillips, and just try and refine that form, then potentially he could come back to Leeds. But at the minute, I don't think anyone's going to touch him. I don't think anyone's going to take that gamble. The wages as well.
It's the game time, isn't it? Like 3 years in a row, 3 teams barely kicked the ball all 3 seasons. I mean, you can't even say it doesn't work under Guardiola because it didn't work under 2 West Ham managers, and it didn't work under an Ipswich manager either. And Kieran McKenna, I would have thought, was the perfect kind of manager for Calvin. Put the arm around the shoulder and get the best out of him. But then the injuries came back, and then you're toast with him. But it's like Nmecha. If someone said you can have Calvin Phillips for 30 grand a week and a free transfer, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then you take that gamble. So fly me rumors behind me. I'm not going mad waving in the air.
Joe Lewis there, Jerry, trying to catch Calvin Phillips. How many players do you expect to bring in the summer? 5, maybe a couple of loans. I think Jerry has it on the head. I think need a goalkeeper. Wouldn't mind another centre half, centre midfielder, number 10, striker, left back. That's what, 6.
I'm very greedy here. How many have I got?
Do you want to lend them my hands as well?
How many have I got?
A lot.
I think 8.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I think 8 for me.
What positions do you think in that 8?
Well, a goalkeeper. It's a cover for a right back and left back, or say that can cover both sides even. Centre back. The spine of the teams.
What's he done the last 3 years?
On the midfielder.
In the Champions League winning season. You know what I mean? You can have medals. Doesn't mean you kick the ball. Joshua Gilavogi is a league winners medal for Leeds. Charlie Crew is a league winners medal for Leeds last year as well. Didn't play.
I have a league winners medal for St. Eata's under 12s, and I didn't play that season. I played one game.
Yeah.
It's about minutes.
Yeah.
How you contribute to that? That's the main part, isn't it? The main part.
Yeah. Especially for that kind of money, 150 grand a week, he needs to be contributing regularly. And I feel bad talking about it because I love Calvin. And again, when he was on form and when he was in that central pivot on his own, he was a beautiful footballer to watch. And it's still in him. That doesn't go away. But it's finding the right manager to give him time and believe him and get this injury history out. But it's another player to add to the list of players that played for Bielsa and just haven't been right since then, you know?
Yeah. It's like he cast a spell on each individual. Like everyone.
I think he said, what did he say to the club? 3 years and he changed the players, or changed the manager, and the club pushed it for a 4th year. And the players all started to break down. And it was like, you were told this would happen and you insisted on it. And unfortunately, you look at Paddy's injury history, you look at Luke Gayling's history over a couple of years. He's missed a lot of football with injuries as well. I missed a lot of players here now, but you could go to that championship team that went up with Bielsa, and then the lot of them have had.
They're all broke. Yeah, he'd Cooper, Dallas, Aylan.
Yeah, I mean, look at Dallas's injury. Jesus,
Click had a little few, didn't he? Click had a little few.
Towards the end, he was struggling.
Before the end, he was struggling for the end. Obviously now Bamford Roof. I remember Kimar Roof, lads. Jesus Christ, and that kind of continued on the rest of his career, didn't he? Just after Bielsa just completely murdered him, didn't he? Went downhill.
Samu Stiles had one summer preseason and went to the club and went on leave.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? And you feel like
I'm not playing Bielsa ball anymore and getting broke up every week. Running around like a headless chicken.
I do think, though, if you'd said to the players in that championship team that Leeds had to finish 13th, if you said to them, we're going to bring a manager in and he'll get you Premier League football and you'll play a couple of years in the Premier League, but you might not be the same player afterwards, would you take it? And I think most of them would have bit your hand off. I would.
100%. You hear the way Dallas talks about it. The way Dallas talks about it, I think, look, Dallas didn't want his career to end the way it did, but he looks back fondly going, he never would have got there without Bielsa, so he might have been still playing nowadays, but he never would have reached the level, so you can see by him, he knows, well, it was partly Jesse's fault.
Players would bite your hand off to say, I was a Premier League footballer, I was there for a couple of years, because without that, they would never have gotten there.
Well, they all say the same thing now, whether they're paid to say that or not. They all want to play in the Premier League, and they did.
They do. Yeah.
Not, do you know what I mean? I'd be happy to, 10 minutes. I'd be happy for 10 minutes to play in the Premier League. And then done.
100%, he will be.
Debut and retirement all in one.
Michael says here, with the son of Nmecha, does this signal the end for Bamford or Bamford and Joseph? Bamford has a year left on his contract. Joseph, possible loan or sell. Me personally, I'd probably think Bamford. I don't know about you guys. Joseph, I'm one of them. I'm sorry, I'm one of them where I want to see how it develops with Joseph. I'm not writing him off yet. I think there was too much pressure put on him last season. There's too much pressure put on him again this season. He's 21 years of age. A lot of development, the position he plays in. He's doing all the right things. If you see him on the social media, he's constantly doing all different types of training, trying to develop his game. So I wouldn't be writing Joseph off yet. There is a player in there. I'd like to see how he develops. With the Bamford one, we already touched on it, Jerry. I think that it's a decent replacement for Bamford, isn't it? If he is eventually moved on.
Yeah, he's a different profile player to Joseph as well. He's probably closer to Bamford, although not a carbon copy player of Bamford either. Probably the player you would have hoped Bamford would move into as he got older, becomes more of a hold-up player, less of a running in behind player as you get older. You want that from him. And I think that's how Farke used Bamford this year as well. When he did bring him on, it was drop deep, get the ball, take the pressure off, pass it sideways, and then make your way back into the box. So, yeah, I think the match is probably one there. I'm the same with you with Joseph. Mateo Joseph's not ready. He's not ready.
Yeah.
But
too much pressure.
I agree.
Well, I just don't believe in taking kids that are still under 21 internationals, which is still an under 21 player, and saying that's you done. Because I know when I was 21, I wasn't the same player I was at 20, but 24 I was miles different. I was much better.
A lot of grown up there, isn't there?
Yeah. Huge amount. But he says the right things. The PSR is the problem. It's pure profit, and you understand that from that perspective. If you're talking about selling them for pure profit, yeah, makes sense. I just think players at that age, it was the same with Charlie Creswell last year for me. What's the rush? Loan him out for a year. Sign him to a new deal. Sign him on a 4 or 5 year deal, and then loan him out. And then you keep an eye on that. And if it doesn't work out, if you don't see the development, then you can sell. But what's the rush? You're not talking huge money here that's worth it, like 8 to 10 million quid. If we were buying a player for 8 to 10 million quid, we'd be talking about them being a backup player. So I personally would loan him out because I want to see that. I'd hate to see us get our pants pulled down, our asses slapped over a player that ends up coming and going, it's 24, 25, and all of a sudden he's a cracking player. And you go, we could have had him, but we wanted 6 million for him, you know? I just think it's a bit short-sighted.
I've seen a lot on social media as well about it. Well, oh, we've a 20% sell-on clause, and I'm like, well, that's a big, massive if. That's a massive if he does get to the heights, we get the sell-on clause. But it did make sense to me to be offered 10 in January. We turned it down. We know that for a fact now that Leeds did turn down the 10 million.
Yeah.
To be offered 6.5, 7 million for him now, for Leeds to be even entertaining that, for me is well too low. So if the board were to go that way, Jerry, and to you as well, Dylan, you want to see good money from him, more than 10 million of what we turned down from in January, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't get rid of him at all. Being honest, I don't even want to have that conversation because I think, Jerry said it there a few minutes ago about the bench last season. Where you look at it and you're going, like, really want to bring Sam Greenwood back, the boy out, Joe Gallagher, and you're looking at it going. But when you get all these new players in, it wouldn't be a bad shout for Joseph to be on the bench. But let's be honest, like, if you give him 10 minutes towards the end, like, you never know. Like, lads, he still score goals. I know it's a different league. Let him develop. But if you don't want to let him develop, then loan him out. I wouldn't be jumping ship. Definitely not. He's too young. And you can see it by him. His ceiling is so high. And he has that kind of flair and excitement to watch. Give him a few years, he'd be unbelievable. I
think if we didn't put the hype on him at the start of last season, Jerry, if we weren't all saying he's going to be top goal scorer, he's going to do this and he's going to do that, and if he didn't have the best preseason like what he did last year, well, I don't even think we're having this conversation about Joe's voice.
I think the pressure got to him there
as a 21 player, and I spoke to you about it as well, Jerry, earlier on today. Is that we're not having the same conversation about Gallagher? It's very, very similar, but we don't see people saying that about Joe Gallagher. So it can't be one for one and one for him.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's,
and if you're asking me Joffrey or Joseph, it's Joseph all day.
Yeah, but I think I do understand the selling point from a Joseph perspective versus Gallagher because you get more money than you would with Joffrey, and I understand that. But again, I think if he's not doing it by 23, then you're like, yeah, it's not going to happen, kid. Off you go. But I think you've got till 20. You've got 2 more years, at least 2 more years. I mean, look at Charlie. Sunderland are now looking at bringing Charlie Cresswell back into the Premier League side next season. So they've seen something in him this year with Toulouse. And again, I don't think he's ready for it yet either. But he signed a 5-year contract with Leeds, and my thinking was loan him out for 2. Loan him out for 2 years and let him go play football for 2 years. And then you bring him back and he's ready. And you're not taking that gamble with him being in your squad and not being ready. You can watch from afar and make an educated decision. Then, for me, I would loan. I have no issue with Bettis being in the picture for him, but I'd say you can have him for a year on loan. Give us a loan fee, take the wages off the books.
Yeah. Shane Kavanagh says here, if the pressure got to him in the championship, he's screwed in the Prem. I just think he's a lot of ground to do, Shane, as what we already said, only 21 years of age, and it's a massive, it's the jersey as well, Jared. Like, I think as well, like if you're putting any other jersey in a championship on Joseph, he probably does a lot better. At Leeds United, it's massive. It's tenfold.
Hold on,
totally different.
During pre-season, right? Like, he scored 2 goals in a game or something. Remember the one that was
in Schalke, 2 first runs,
and. Everyone was like, oh my God, this is going to be the next best thing. And I was going through Twitter and I remember going, fair play, 10 out of 10 sort of narrative. But, lads, he's a young player and you're telling me that when he's finished, he's scrolling through his phone looking at all this. He knows he's going to give himself the prep. The pressure probably got to him. And then me and you were having that conversation week in, week out. Who's going to start? Is it going to be Piroe? Is it going to be Joseph? And I was battling there for a while. Then he just took his foot off the gas. And Piroe was the man. At the end of the day, lads,
there's a lot of people right now who are saying to get rid of Joseph. We're the same people at the start of the season who predicted he'd be the top goal. We did a prediction video at the start of the year. And I was the only person, me and maybe one other person, who said Piroe. Everyone else said Joseph, top goal scorer. So the expectation was put on him by other people, not by him, not by his manager, not by the club.
Not by the club,
But that's not to say he's ready. He's not ready. But he wasn't ready last year either. So it's the point. We didn't bring in another striker. We were restricted on money. It's not the same case this year. Let him go out and play some football. Let him develop and then make an educated conversation. And if he's not ready, then absolutely no problem. Let him go. Let him go.
I think, sorry.
You could end up, I mean, look, Max Dean's another example. Now, Max Dean had an ACL injury last year, but he ended up again playing European football and scoring in Europe. And we let him go for £1 million. Now, he did do his ACL and he's out for a bit now, but that was an example of someone that Jesse went, don't rate him, off you go. And off he went down the division, went to MK Dons. A couple of months later, he's off he goes in to play for Ghent and he's playing in European football. So, and he's still young. He could still come good again and come back to England at some point in the future. So they always say development isn't linear. It's not a straight line. Players can take off like that and then plateau for a long time and maybe never take off again. Other players can be settled for a bit and then out of nowhere just take a jump. So we put our expectations on players and then we have a problem with those players when they don't meet our expectations. And that to me is a lot of the problem. He's a kid. Last year for me is the player's first breakout season. I thought he did enough of what you'd expect for an under 21 level player. Obviously, we didn't have a second striker, so that puts way more pressure on him to come on and deliver. If Bamford was there to start last season and fit, I don't think you see Joseph play half as much as he played anyway. And I think then the pressure comes off of him. And I think the expectation from fans comes off him as well. He's left alone a little bit to develop. And it's a lot of pressure. And I know he does watch social media because his dad watches social media because his dad has commented on content that we've made about his son. So they do watch it and they do hear it. And again, if you go back to watch the documentary of Leeds, Adam Forshaw's in his car and he's talking about social media and he's saying we see every single bit of it. We're all aware of it. So, you know,
I love you, Joseph.
Elland as well. I remember Elland. Was it the documentary? To take me on documentary, Elland touched on it as well. So they do see it and they do watch it. And yeah, look, I think we'll wrap it up about Joseph because we could sit here all night talking about Mateo. But for me, I definitely think there's enough of a player in there. I think back to his front post run against Hull when he scored, lovely finish. He has that in his locker to get across the first man, and that's rare in today's game, Jerry, isn't it? The strikers nowadays hang around the box. They're not active enough. He's very good at that. We've seen him come on against Sheffield United as well, scoring the second goal and the 2-0 win. So I think he showed me enough this season to not pull the trigger too fast on him. Yeah. And again, I just think it's because of the expectation at the start of the season that was lumped on him by us as a fan base. There's no need. I think we'll see how he develops.
Wasn't there when we're not even talking about Sell.
Could have, should have, would have. Shay's not letting this one go, lads. We gave to be a brutal season. We're gonna have a brutal season. Carrying no one. Yeah, agree. That's what we won't carry him this season. Send him out alone and see how he gets on. If Leeds United don't survive beyond the coming season, then with the curtail of the stadium development, it could possibly be, Jerry. Could it if we don't?
It's not part of PSR, so I don't think it will.
Yeah, that's all over, isn't it?
And it's also not just Elland Road; it's the entire area around the council are now involved with developing the area around Beeston as well. So no, I don't think it matters. I think it might delay it a little bit, but I don't think ultimately it matters because the stadium work doesn't class as part of PSR, so you can do what you want with that and not affect your PSR.
Yeah, love it. Right, lads, I think we leave it there. There was loads and loads. I think we could go all night, couldn't we? Talk about all the ins and outs of Leeds United. Jerry, again, thanks very much for giving up your time and popping on. Really, really enjoyable. And the hour flew by. I only said to you 40 minutes earlier on. We're after going 20 minutes over. So sorry for keeping you, but always great to have you on and get your thoughts on everything Leeds United.
Appreciate it, man. No problem. Anytime.
Cheers. Dillo, you mind yourself?
Mind each other.
Come on. Chat you all again soon. Have a good one.